Okay, pointers, we are back with more pointing. This is pointing to the database, because it's like you're pointing to something. Oh, gonna shut up now. So, what we're going to be doing today is reading off some database entries. We're going to be collecting some flags, getting some viewpoints, and collecting the treasures as well in the district, the new district. So, if you don't want to watch all of that, we're going to be running around as well, so it's probably a little bit boring for those of you that just want to watch the the mission stuff and the story. So if you don't want to watch this, then you don't have to. You can just skip ahead. It's just going to be pointing and collecting everything. It's why I do this, so you can skip ahead if you don't want to watch it. But if you do, then stick your headphones in. We'll have a listen to some of the databases. Right. Okay then. Maria Auditore. Date of birth 1432. Profession writer, noble. I grow tired of these walls that surround me, and I am bored with safety. Now it is the time to make a decision. I will go out there and see what my family may truly be. Maria wrote these words when she was 16, a week before she met Giovanni Auditore. Born into the powerful banking family the Mozzi, Maria is one of the most famous historical sources of the time period due to her multi-volume diary, which has been translated by several notable scholars and is on display in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. With funding from her parents, Maria opened up a bakery in the courtyard of her family palazzo, which she transformed into an artistic gathering place. It was there she met a man with such conviction, I found myself rooted to the spot, unable to look anywhere else. That man was Giovanni Auditore. Maria and Giovanni were married in 1450. Maria's diary entries continue for the next few decades, describing her patronage of several up-and-coming artists and her trials as a mother, at which point she abruptly abandons her writing, to the disappointment of historians everywhere. Leonardo da Vinci. Date of birth 1452. Profession painter, inventor, designer, architect, scientist, engineer. The illegitimate son of a notary and a peasant woman, Leonardo da Vinci was raised in Tuscany like many destined to be superstars. He had no surname. Vinci being the town in which he was born, at age 14 he was apprenticed to a Florentine banker, Verrocchio, who taught him chemistry, drafting, painting, sculpting and modelling. When he was 20, Leonardo established his own workshop and then travelled across Italy, eventually painting his great masterpieces The Last Supper in 1498 and the Mona Lisa in 1503 to 1507. During his travels, Leonardo studied the work with unquenchable curiosity, recording his observations in mirror writing within his notebooks. He created designs for a helicopter, tank, solar power and a calculator. Among others, he was also an engineer designing garrisons, cannons and movable barricades. Despite this epic list of accomplishments, Leonardo was hounded by his patrons for his chronic procrastination. Pieces frequently took years longer than he anticipated and many were never finished at all. Leonardo also had a tumultuous love life. Accused of sodomy in 1476, he was most likely homosexual. Salai, his assistant, was accused of stealing and spending too much money on clothes, but was also probably Leonardo's lover. Leonardo painted several pictures of Salai, including his famous St. John the Baptist, and left the Mona Lisa to him when he died in 1519. Claudia Auditore. Date of birth 1461. Profession student, noble. The third child of Giovanni and Maria Auditore, and the first girl in the family. Claudia seems to have been a bit of a spoilt brat. It looks like her parents had to raise her dowry by 1,000 florins after she scared away all her potential suitors. A report from her school indicates that she attacked another girl for looking at her boyfriend and knocked her out cold. On the plus side, she's Ezio's sister, so you should be safe. Annetta. Date of birth 1457. Profession servant. The Auditore family's live-in servant, Annetta had one of the few respectable jobs allowed lower-class Renaissance women. Rich families seldom had more than one or two servants. Most were young, sometimes children. Many hoped their masters would help raise their standing, but usually turnover was rapid. Ultimately, very little is known about Annetta's life. She passed on without making a mark on history. Paola. Date of birth 1438. Profession Madame of La Rosa Colta. There isn't much information about Paola in the history books, but the Florentine archives reveal that she was orphaned at age 18 when her parents were killed at sea. Left with a choice between joining a nunnery and prostitution, she began a life on the streets. At 16 she vanished from the records only to reappear at age 20 when she was arrested for murdering a city guard. On an interesting note, Giovanni Auditore represented her in court, winning the case on a self-defense plea. Released from prison, Paola went on to start her own brothel to protect many other unfortunate women of the street. Thieves. From Rebecca. I bet those thieves can work with you to distract the guards, or if you start a brawl, they'll probably fight with you. Just go talk to them. They'll tell you their price. Renaissance thieves were usually wanderers who could vanish at the first sight of trouble, making it hard for guards to track them. Black market businesses in Renaissance Italy were booming. Muggings in the major cities were fairly common, as were murders. Often strollers were attacked in the dead of night, killed, robbed, and then rolled into the nearest river or canal. Even if a thief merely stole rather than killed, penalties, if caught, were often unduly harsh. Torture was common. Thieves were put in stocks and sometimes even publicly executed. In order to avoid punishment, thieves often created bonds of trust amongst each other. Each was supposed to tell the rest his dirty secrets, which meant that each thief potentially held his comrades' lives in his hands. Heralds. From Rebecca. If a herald tries to draw attention to your assassinations, I bet you can bribe him to keep him quiet. Proclamations, local laws, news, market days, and advertisements were all called out by heralds. Since many Renaissance Italians could not read, special laws had to be put in place to protect them from the crowd, due to extreme displays of unhappiness following the announcement of tax increases. Courtesans. From Rebecca. Those girls are definitely available for hire. I bet you can use them as moving cover. In fact, try setting them to tempt unwanted guards. Prostitution was one of the most popular occupations for Renaissance women, whose only other options in most cases were staying with their families or living in a convent. Italian society supported prostitution, and many brothels were regulated by the government. At the end of the 15th century, cities started to pass laws against prostitution, forcing courtesans to wear specific outfits and separating them from respected society. Bottega di Leonardo a Firenze. Leonardo da Vinci opened his own studio after completing his apprenticeship to Verrocchio, one of the most successful Florentine artists of the day. Between 1476 and 1481, Leonardo probably continued to collaborate with Verrocchio, although no one is quite sure what he was working on in 1481. He was given his first commission by the monks of San Donato a Scorpido to paint the Adoration of the Magi. In true Da Vinci style, he began the painting but never finished it. San Marco district. In the late 1400s, most of the city's construction went on in San Marco. Important landmarks include the Church of Santa Croce and the Palazzo Medici. From Rebecca. One of those strange glyphs Sean mentioned is on this landmark. You should go find it. La Rosa Colta. Opened in 1465, La Rosa Colta, the plucked rose, quickly became essential in Florentine life. The women there were known for being upper class. They were educated in poetry and the arts, as well as sexual intercourse. It was not rare to see members of the Signoria at La Rosa Colta, and even on occasion a Medici. Santa Croce. From Rebecca. One of those strange glyphs Sean mentioned is on this landmark. You should go find it. The largest Francescan church in the world, La Basilica di Santa Croce, contains frescoes by Giotto and a chapel in the cloisters designed by Filippo Brunelleschi that is considered one of the masterpieces of Renaissance architecture. According to St. Francis and the Franciscans' reading of the Bible, Christ told his followers to take on a vow of poverty, and he said to them, "Take nothing for your journey, neither staff, nor script, nor bread, nor money, neither have two coats." So how did a sect of Catholicism, and that held a vow of poverty as one of its core values, own such a posh church? Well, in 1322, the Pope declared the Franciscans' vow of poverty was illegal, that Christ had, in fact, owned property and wanted his followers to own property. This meant, of course, that the Franciscans were forced to collect money and land, which would in turn go to the Pope, providing the biblical interpretation can be surprisingly profitable, especially if you're the Pope. Ospedale degli Innocenti. From Rebecca. One of those strange glyphs Sean mentioned is on this landmark. You should go find it. Designed by Filippo Brunelleschi and opened in 1445, the Ospedale degli Innocenti, Hospital of the Innocents, was an orphanage for unwanted babies. Apparently the Florentines were a feisty bunch, since it was the first of its kind in Europe. Babies were typically abandoned in a basin in the front, although later transactions were facilitated by the introduction of a rotating horizontal wheel, which moved infants into the building without the parents being seen. Some parents weren't just ejecting their love child, they were making money off them. Many a mother abandoned her baby in order to be held by the Ospedale as a wet nurse, so she could be paid to feed her own child. boys were tortured in various professions. Oh, tutored. Ha! Boys were tutored in various professions by the Ospedale staff, while the girls were usually trained to become nuns or wives. Palazzo Medici. Completed in 1455 by Cosimo de' Medici's living architect Michelazzo di Bartolomeo Michelozzi. The Palazzo Medici was constructed as the private residence of the Medici family. It was designed according to the values of humanism, the dominant ideology of the Renaissance, which attempts to engage the viewer with structures built on a more human scale. At least that's the theoretical ideology of the Palazzo, but the effect goes something more like this. The outside is foreboding and keeps people out. If the facades could talk, it seems to be saying, "Get back! You do not belong here. You are not important enough to enter." In contrast, the interior courtyard, which only the Medici and their guests saw, has none of the exterior's hard edges. It's full of luscious, curving, rounded arches, like a wedding cake. It says, "You've arrived. Welcome to paradise." In fact, Cosimo both approved the courtyard and rejected an earlier architectural plan by Brunelleschi that would have led to a more open facade. He wanted a Medici fortress inside of Florence. Now it's time to read off the codex pages. These will be explained later on in the actual story, but we're going to read some now just to get them out of the way. Page 1. I have spent days with the artifact now. Or has it been weeks? Months? I can no longer be certain. The others come from time to time, offering food or distraction. They say I should separate myself from these studies. Malik has even suggested I abandon them entirely. But I am not yet ready to turn away. This apple of Eden will be understood. It must be. Is it a weapon? Is it a catalogue? Is it somehow both? He who increaseth knowledge, increaseth sorrow. The philosophy of such a statement I can understand. But for it to be true, literally true, a society that wages wars with ideas and information in place of steel and swords. Its function is simple, elementary even. Dominion, control. But the process, the methods and means it employs, these are fascinating. Those subjected to its glow are promised all that they desire, if asked only one thing in return: complete and total obedience. And who can truly refuse? It is temptation incarnate. I remember my own moment of weakness, when confronted by Al-Mualim, my confidence shaken by his words. He who had been like a father, was now revealed to be my greatest enemy. Just the briefest flicker of doubt was all he needed to creep into my mind. But I vanquished his phantoms, restored my self-confidence, and sent him from the world. I freed myself. But now, I wonder, did I really? For here I sit, desperate to understand that which I swore to destroy. This is why the apple has a tale to tell. I sense the flickers of something, great and dangerous. We are all at risk. It is my duty to do something about it. I must not, cannot turn away until I have found out the truth. So it seems to be some sort of page from Altair. It's some sort of diary, or I suppose a codex. Right, but this... So now we know what happened at the end of it. We now know he got the Apple of Eden, and he was actually studying the Apple of Eden after he said he was going to destroy it. But of course, if you played Bloodlines, you know that he was writing this during that time. Page 3. No text data. Zoom to see image data. So you can see it's the designs for the hidden blade.
How do you do that? How does he do that?
Okay, it's now time for a little bit of post commentary, because we didn't have many database entries at all. In fact, there's a whole another 31 minutes of pointing that I haven't got any databases for, so I need to do more post commentary. But yeah, I don't know how this is gonna work out. Because I was kind of thinking that my promise is that I won't be talking much in these pointing episodes, although some cases like this where I have to. I can't just put it out without any audio. Hello, thieves. So I have to sort of do it. I don't know how it's going to work. I suppose it could be like a... It could be like oh, shut up, thieves! It could be a little bit of a sort of secret to all you pointers that watch it. Now, obviously I won't do anything major like, you know, important information which I'll include in the normal Let's Play. So I guess it'd just be a nice little sort of secretly hidden talking for those pointers, for us pointers. But I guess that's going to work. But obviously, the next episode, 30 minutes of pointing. Can you imagine if that was in the... Could you... Sorry, I'll just deal with him. Yeah, can you imagine that? If I kept that in the normal Let's Play, that's how long is this episode? 20 plus another 30 minutes, that's 30, 40, 50 minutes. That would have been nearly 3 episodes of just collecting useless rubbish. I say useless rubbish, it's all useful, but, you know, most people don't want to watch that. But can you imagine? Anyway, I still stand by my decision to cut it all out and put it into a pointing episode. Just makes it a little bit easier for people that don't want to watch everything and stuff like that, so I think it's a good idea anyway. Anyway, how's everyone doing? I think I'm doing alright. I do have a lot to collect in these 2 pointing episodes. Like, I've got all of the treasures to collect in the new in San Marco district. And I've got the viewpoints which I've already done. And obviously I've got the feathers now as well in both districts because I didn't have the ability to collect them last time. I always hate the notoriety there. Like when it's just that little bit of red. Oh, I don't like it. And then it clutters your map with where all the maps are and everything. What they called wanted posters are. Oh, I don't like it at all. I really don't. So whenever I get that little bit and I just see a map, not map. I keep saying map. Whenever I see a poster, I just have to rip it down. You'll probably see this in the main Let's Play as well. I will just lose my nut and just go, ooh. I don't like it at all. But I understand why they put it in. It's a little bit of...
Prices so low, you won't believe your eyes.
Prices so low, you won't believe your eyes. Funny man in the thingy, whatever his name is, shopkeep. Right, okay then, Ezio, would you like to carry on? I don't know how much long we've got left. I have no idea of telling, working out, finding out, looking, seeing, knowing. That's what I meant to say. Right, this courtyard bugged me a little bit because I got this, and you can see after I've picked it up and put the money in my bank account, I can't find the door. See? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Because even I can see it now, and I knew where it's been. No, I think... Is this a Santa Croce? No, it's not. Is this the... What? I forgot how to say it. It's like Hospital de Innocenti or something like that. It's the hospital for innocents where they take in the orphans. I think that's that. Because they were saying about they get dropped off in the fountain outside. I believe so. Right, I'm going to have a cup of tea anyway. I need some sort of tea. Oh, wow, that's hot. Ah. Look, too hot at the moment. Right, now, I always remember there being, at this wall, there's a feather or something that you have to sort of jump up and then across. Well, it's quite a difficult move. Well, not a difficult move, but you don't understand. If you don't know how to do it, then you don't know how to do it. That makes no sense at all, does it? No, it's one of those things where if you don't know that's what you got to do, you don't know how to get it. Or if you don't know how to do this one move, you don't have any idea about how to get this one flag. But you sort of have to run up the wall and then jump to the side, all in the same move.
All who need aid are welcome.
I thought it was in this district, but it obviously isn't, is it? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't remember getting it anyway. Yeah, I thought they were going to start a fight, but they didn't. Right, keep going, Ezio. You must collect all of these treasures and codex pages. Right. Oh dear. Yeah, you might have noticed that when we did the database entries, I did the codex pages. There were still 2 pages that I didn't read. That's because they've not been deciphered by Leonardo da Vinci yet. But when we get there, we will do it and I'll read them off. But I like the codex pages. I like the whole secrecy sort of thing. I love that sort of thing. It's like a secret society. I think that's why I like Assassin's Creed. It's the history, it's the little details like that with the codex page, like the lore of like ancient assassins. It's just, it's everything. Plus add that with the customization of your armor. I know it's a small customization thing, but yeah, it's just so much stuff that it just fascinates me. Anyway, I will say here, because it is important I suppose, but I could keep it in here anyway. But I'm thinking about the dyeing my clothes. Like, you can dye your clothes with different colours. I don't know if I'm going to or not. I'm thinking maybe each time I record I change the colour. Just to mix it up a little bit. Like I usually like to keep my clothes either this, which is the Assassin's White, or with the ones where you get a black hood. And sometimes you get a different colour inside the hood, but it's a black hood. Because it's like the Master Assassin colours. But I don't know what to do. I might... What I might do is when I come back and do the main episodes later today, I'm going to do it later today actually, I might change it to one of them. And then obviously I'll see what everyone else thinks about